And Nike remains vocal about injustice here in America. But when it comes to China, Nike remains silent. You do not say a word about the oppression of minorities in China. You are scared to speak up.
All right, just days after daring to call out communist China, now NBA star Enes Kanter is taking aim at Nike, slamming the retail giant over its silence on human rights abuses in China, while it pushes, and has certainly pushed, social justice causes here in the United States. Evan Nierman, founder, CEO of the public relations firm Red Banyan, author of the book Crisis Averted, joining us now. Evan, good to see you. Boy, points for moral courage, right?
Wow, never a dull moment. It's an exciting time to be talking about the NBA.
I guess what I'm interested most in is that we've seen the NBA really come down pretty hard on its players and certainly on the general manager of the Houston Rockets over the issue of China. You now have a player speaking specifically about the human rights abuses in China. Is this an inflection point for the NBA in China?
Well, look, I think it's certainly not the first time that China has come up. I think this is going to continue to happen. We should expect it also to be, I'm looking at it from a crisis PR perspective as a precursor to what we can see from the athletes in the Olympics as well. I think what this shows is when you have players who have a huge soapbox and a big audience, and they can take their message directly to the public and they can say whatever they want, it can put the league, it can put individual teams, and in this case, it could put a country into the spotlight talking about things about which they'd rather not be talking.
Well, fair enough. One could argue that we should be talking a lot more about China's human rights abuses. Here's Leo Terrell. Take a listen.
Step aside Colin Kaepernick, step aside LeBron James, because he's talking about China. And the NBA has been completely quiet. Why? Because of the money. It's easy, Brian, for NBA players to criticize America. They don't go to prison. They can criticize America day and night.
Perhaps is this going to cause an uncomfortable conversation for Colin Kaepernick and LeBron James, among others?
It's possible. Look, I think there's every right to call out human rights abuses in China. It's a legitimate issue. Their treatment of the Uyghurs is reprehensible. And I think Enes Kanter has chosen to be an outspoken person who's going to speak his mind and get into politics and get into issues of social justice. However, I think where he's making a mistake is he's bringing, you mentioned LeBron James, he's dragging LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Nike into the conversation. I think that's where you start to see a really slippery slope. If he wants to take a position against China and its treatment of a Muslim minority, that's one thing. But to call out fellow greats, other greats in the game, the greatest, arguably the two greatest players in the history of the game, and he's done this in the past with other players as well, to call them out by name and put them on the spot, I think it detracts from what he's really trying to do, which is to put China on the spot.
Interesting concept, but isn't it that LeBron James and Nike are the ones who started this conversation? You think about Nike with the Colin Kaepernick ad, believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything. It's LeBron James and Nike who champion the social justice causes. What's wrong with calling out their hypocrisy?
Well, obviously he doesn't feel there's anything wrong with calling out their hypocrisy.
I know, but you
and he's
seem to say it's a distraction.
NBA.
I'm just wondering why you said that.
Yeah, I think it is a distraction because I think ultimately, what does he most want? He wants to call attention to the mistreatment of these individuals. That's happening in China. It's not happening necessarily within Nike. LeBron James isn't prosecuting anyone. So I think it's a distraction because, yes, you can point out inconsistencies and you can accuse other people of being hypocritical.
Come on, Evan, I understand you're a diplomat, but inconsistencies? This is flat-out hypocrisy. You got LeBron James talking day and night about social justice causes, Nike spending tens of millions of dollars on Kaepernick endorsements, and yet they're doing business with the people who are committing the worst human rights atrocities since the Nazis. That's not discrepancies, please.
Well, look, it's up for debate. I think what's hard
there is no debate about what's going on in China.
No, I agree with that. As I said earlier, the treatment of the Uyghurs, unacceptable, and I think he's right, and he's within the bounds as an activist to call attention to that. I think that's 100% legitimate. What I'm questioning is not the ultimate aim of what he's trying to do. I'm questioning some of his tactics, and I think that what they're doing is it's distracting from what he ultimately wants, and he's maybe training fire on the wrong target.
Well, interestingly enough, though, as he trains fire on those targets, people end up talking about it a lot more. Evan, thank you very much. We appreciate the time. It's good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you again.
All right.